Have you seen, read, or indeed heard about Inside the Manosphere? Louis Theroux's new Netflix documentary is shining a light on the rise of so-called manosphere culture online and the influence of figures like Andrew Tate on young men. Now, it has sparked a wider debate about misogyny, social media and the pressures facing a new generation. We have a couple of guests on this, but before we hear from them, let's hear a bit of the trailer for Inside the Manosphere.
I normally train a little bit earlier in the day. I like to start my day off working out, doing hard things. Who are you talking to? What, do I not talk to this? Don't talk to him. Talk to you.
We're not on social media now. What would you say is the message?
I coach boys how to make money.
Wow, this is a nice spot.
How to be outside the system. How to be proper guys.
Shut up or nut up.
Would you see me that way? Did you look at my arms?
The stature's not saying too much.
I was entering the manosphere, a wild frontier of streamers whose behaviour is reshaping the culture.
People ask me why Miami, and I tell them because if it was 120 years ago, I'd be on a horse on the way to California to dig for gold.
Whose appeal has proved irresistible to hordes of young fans. 15 is probably like your main demographic.
No, it isn't.
They hear that content, they think it's acceptable.
What? What have I done?
I'm doing it for money. I don't care about
The morality of it.
I'm not living for other people. I'm living for myself.
That last bit in particular is startling. One Clare-based singer-songwriter has been reflecting on Inside the Manosphere and toxic masculinity in a powerful opinion piece that he wrote recently. That is the Ennis-based singer-songwriter Steo Wall. Steo, welcome to studio.
Morning, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks very much for being with us. And we're also joined by two young men from the Fishbowl Youth Club in Scariff, Jakob, Kurtz and Kumar, Rubin. And good morning to both of you as well, and thanks very much for being with us. We'll start with yourself, Steo, though. You wrote a really interesting piece in the Champion about this. What drew you to write it after, and what drew you to watch Inside the Manosphere? Was it all the talk just floating around about it?
I became interested in it a few months back. I've been writing a few pieces for the Champion, and one of them was on big tech and our kids, trying to protect our kids from big tech. And while I was writing about that, the Manosphere kept popping up, and then I watched a show called Adolescence, which also featured the Manosphere heavily. So it just
was a really powerful documentary or program with Stephen Graham.
Yeah. It was incredible, and so it just kept popping up, and I knew that I wanted to write, a piece on it in the future, and I thought it needed like a positive male role model perspective on the Manosphere. You know what I mean? That's why I wrote it.
And I mean, before seeing Inside the Manosphere, how knowledgeable or how much did you know about this whole culture and the Andrew Tates and people like that? And had you even just heard his name but didn't know much about him? Or
hadn't got a clue who the bloke was up until a couple of months back. I didn't know about the Manosphere or Andrew Tate or this world existed.
Is there a party that now wishes you go back in time to that original state?
What's weird is that I just don't get it. I don't get how people look. As Louis said in the doc, like the demographic are young, impressionable 15-year-old boys. They're the people that these people are advertising to. You know what I mean? And I get how they can be influenced and sucked into that world. But anyone that critically thinks and looks at the world in a critical way, I don't think he can be sucked in. You know?
Yeah. Let's bring in Jakob and also Kumar. As you know, I mean, look, Steo, I think the two of us would agree we're in the prime of our life, but Jakob and Kumar are significantly younger. And Jakob, I might start with yourself. How familiar or otherwise were you with what we've seen in Inside the Manosphere and people like Andrew Tate? Have you seen a lot of these kind of male influencer types on social media? Did you pay much attention to them?
Yeah, I mean, we as younger people, we're a lot more on social media, I suppose, than a bit older people. And you're hearing about those topics, like you get to know them from your classmates at first. I mean, we both are politically pretty active. Yeah. In our home countries. We're not from Ireland. And yeah, we heard of them pretty early. Like Andrew Tate, when he went to jail first a few years ago. Yeah. That was the first time I really got to know it. But then I watched the documentary this weekend, and there were a lot of people I've never seen before, but their opinions on the stuff. It always repeats. It's always the same, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they're always having the same statement all the time. They're saying like all the same. It's like they're clones of each other. It's like really scary how they have so much influence, because it's such a toxic message,
Yeah, and I think that's why it's really helpful to have you, Kumar, and Jakob on, because whilst you are with the Fishbowl Youth Club in Scariff, you, Kumar, are Paraguayan, Jakob is from Germany, and I think that highlights just how global the influence of this kind of content is. And does it feel avoidable, or whatever social media you're on, Jakob, is it just something, whether you're on Instagram, X, Threads, whatever it might be, the algorithm is just constantly pushing you towards this kind of stuff, no matter how much you try to avoid it?
Yeah, 100%. Because the thing with all those social media algorithms is the hook, the beginning of the video. If there's something loud, someone screaming in the camera with a crazy message, the people get catched and they're looking it. And then if hundreds of people are looking it, thousands of people are looking it, sometimes millions are getting catched by that hook, and then it gets spread all over the accounts. That's the thing, those easy things, those also in politics, those easy conclusions. It's every time the easy things that hooks you, and then you're staying on the videos, and that's why it always gets on the For You pages of us young people.
And people start talking about it, and it spreads more. It doesn't matter if you're talking about it positively or negatively. It just makes the message bigger. So you'll find it, and it doesn't matter at what point it will come to you.
Yeah, no, I get that. And Steo, I just wonder, I think it sounds like Kumar and Jakob are critical thinkers, and they're not just taking all of this in and regurgitating it. But I'm sure some young men are seeing this kind of stuff, talk about relationships or masculinity, and taking what's being said as gospel. Particularly at the end of the trailer there, we heard the guy, basically, the gist of what he was saying was, I don't care what kind of message I'm putting out there. It's just about, boosting my bank balance. And do you worry that young men might not recognise this kind of content as opinion? They just start to take it as gospel and see it as the truth.
Yeah, I do. And I think that's like all of these social media influencers, starting with Andrew Tate and working your way down. That's what they're working off. Like all of these echo chambers on social media, they all start with a little bit of truth. Yeah, and so the little kernel of truth that I can see from everything that I've looked at is that a lot of young males feel a little bit lost in the world at the minute, and that's how they hook you in. It's like, oh, are you lost? Do you need to be a big man? And then they hook you in on that little bit of truth, and then they start selling you the lie. And every one of them are selling a lie. They're all either investment stuff, cryptocurrencies, online get rich quick schemes. It's all a pyramid scheme, and they're all just scammers trying to hook people in and make money off them, and they do that through clickbait, short form videos,
Yeah.
But everything I've written for the paper comes from the prism of being a father. So, look, I'm trying to raise two young boys, and I'm trying to teach them to be critical thinkers, and I'm trying to hold them back from technology for as long as I can. But I also understand that there's a tidal wave of technology, whether I like it or not. So I'm trying to teach them how to navigate that online space, and so I just feel it's important. I also feel there's two things I heard you on the intro saying that I feel like the female perspective was definitely missing from the Louis Theroux documentary, or 100%. And also I think that big tech have a huge question to answer with all this, because young boys are being spoon. This stuff has been, like the young lad said there, it's been spoon fed to young people.
And I think that is something we might touch on again towards the end, because and like any discussion around social media or the internet, the impact it has on certain sectors of society, the responsibility of the big tech companies. But maybe part of that we can talk about is how hard it is to pin anything on them or to get them to actually do something. But Jakob and Kumar, just to bring you guys back in, Steo was there, I was talking about young fellas might be feeling lost or not getting much direction in their life, and being a father and trying to keep his children back, his young boys back from social media for as long as possible. Is that part of the issue here? Maybe Jakob, I'll ask you first, that there are a lot of young guys out there whose parents don't know enough about technology and can't keep an eye on them and aren't even sure what they're up to and what they're being exposed to.
I think that's a big problem, to be honest. I mean, my parents, for example, they really try to understand all this stuff, but it's just not possible. There's always coming new stuff in. Social media is constantly changing, and as parents, it's not possible to like cover it all and get to learn it all. But it's very important, because if you put young children on social media apps without them knowing anything about them, how they work, about the people on there, it can be really, really dangerous. And that's a trend we're seeing there.
Yeah,
A lot of young people also without orientation on the internet. It's not just they don't have an orientation in life, they also don't have an orientation in the internet.
And it's also, these people is very aware of their demographic. They're all known. The people that's watching them are 15, 14, are young people. But then they say, no, if this content is not for people that young. This is not for people underage. You should not watch that. If you're watching it, it's not my fault. It's from fault of your parents. They don't know what you're watching. But they know that the most of the public is like that, and they take advantage of that because they're really influenceable, you know.
I just wonder, I mean, both of you sound very sensible and you have your head screwed on, Jakob and Kumar. But Jakob, what about your friends, your peers? Are they being exposed to, like you guys are, to a lot of this stuff? And are they less critical thinking? Are they regurgitating? Are you hearing them regurgitate a lot of what these Andrew Tate types are spewing out? And do you worry about them? Do you have to talk to your friends and say, look, do you know these guys don't take what they're saying as the truth?
I mean, my friends are really trying to understand it all and be critical about it. But I know a lot of lads that aren't that critical, that are taking that stuff as a belief, like as something they are 100% believing, and they aren't questioning it anymore. I'm seeing it at home, and it really divides into two parts of the society, into two parts of the youth society, and they aren't talking with each other anymore because they are so focused on their opinion in that thing. They don't try to talk to us anymore.
Yeah, Kumar, is there pressure on young men to be dominant, wealthy, or emotionally closed off? I mean, do you feel that pressure, and that's why young guys are attracted to these kind of people on social media?
I think there's a lot of people who hasn't been really educated in their life, and they're searching for something else, someone else to tell them what they should do. So they have a lot of pressure in their future, or what should I do? And then there comes a guy who has a really big message saying with all the energy, something that is really shocking, and feel, oh yeah, I want to do this. And so I think there's a lot of people who is like really engaged with this, and they see it like a gospel. They don't think about that. They just follow it, and I think that's really dangerous because they don't think about that. They just receive the message and accept it. And yeah, there's a lot of people who they're like lost, and they have this pressure in the future, and they say, okay, yeah, I like this, and I'm going to follow this, and I'm going to question it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people who keeps out of having pressure, and if they do not know what's going to happen in the future, and that's why they keep following this kind of people.
And Steo, I think there's no doubt that as a phenomenon, this issue was well worth Louis Theroux covering with Inside The Manosphere. Let's maybe talk a bit about how well he did that. I think any Louis Theroux documentary, one of his strengths is he knows when to say nothing, or he can play dumb or not knowing, for want of a better phrase, in order to let the protagonist, the guest, hoist themselves by their own petard. Did he do that well? Like, he gave these influencers the room to indict themselves, but obviously maybe a big criticism is, and it's certainly in some of the reviews I've seen, that Inside The Manosphere just doesn't focus enough on the impact on women. Is that the main criticism from it?
I would say, because like any good piece of journalism, you need opposite ends of the coin. You need the female perspective, definitely within all of that misogynistic crap that these lads were talking about. But what I thought he done brilliantly was, he was just so chilled in how he approached it, and just the questions were so simple that each and every one of the lads, they kind of crumbled under his critical questions, and they weren't that probing, you know. It was just like, do you really believe that you deserve to have all the, you know, as many female partners as you want, but your wife doesn't? And then he was like, yeah. And then he turned to the wife and he'd ask her, what do you think? And you could just see the hurt in her eyes, where she's like, I think one of them did actually say, no, I don't agree with that. And the two of them ended up splitting up.
There's a shock.
Yeah. You could see it. And then you could see in the documentary, your man was losing control, because it's all about control, right? And so you could see that he was losing control, and then he ended up saying to her, oh, go in and clean the room there and take the dog for a walk or something, you know, something stupid like that.
That's really like, you know, like a dad from the 1940s would say to their wife or something.
It's all of that, yeah. It's all of that. And you're like, what I saw from it as well was that, like, the common thread through all of these boys was that either their father wasn't in their life, or if he was, there was serious domestic abuse going on within the family home. And they say it, some of them tell Louis in the documentary that there was domestic abuse going on. So what I see from that is a projection of, like, unresolved childhood trauma. Yeah,
and you're taking it out on your partner. Or,
yeah. Well, they're taking it out on women. Like, the feminist movement is demasculating. It's all conspiracy. It's all right wing conspiracy crap that they read online, and then they just push out, you know, as gospel to our young people. But yeah, I'm after getting lost in my own thought there.
No, it's easy to, because there's so much we could talk about in this. That issue of it inside the manosphere not focusing enough on women, and maybe young men are they're not doing that, and if they are, it's a negative focus, like what Steve was talking about. Jakob and Kumar, what's your sense of your peers and how they think about the women, girls in general? Does it tend to be negative, and is that influenced by the Andrew Tates of the world, as Steo says, taking out whatever unresolved issues they have on women because they feel like they're demasculating men?
I think there's definitely, in the youth world of today, there's definitely, what I see is the young people are more speaking about women, and they aren't speaking with women anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just those, I really noticed it here. It's really interesting. Like, there's here in Ireland, they are all saying they aren't talking about girls, they are talking about birds.
Yeah.
And that's a bit with those birds, they are always sexualizing. In the youth of today, a lot of teenagers are just sexualizing young girls, and that's all they see in women. Mm-hmm. That sexual aspect and nothing else.
Do you see that as well, Kumar? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They see how Jakob say, they're talking more about women and not with women. They don't really like interact with them. They just talk about how they could behave and how they are in their life, and they don't really know that because they don't talk with women. And that's really I don't know how to say, concerning because, you know, if you don't talk to women and you just keep talking about them and how they behave and how is their life and how they think, of course you're going to have wrong thoughts in your head because you're not educated about that. Because, oh, if women do that and that and that and you haven't talked to a woman in months, it's just, of course it's going to keep going like that because it's really dangerous, you know. I'm sorry, I can't express myself.
No, you expressed yourself very well, and I think that's as good a note on as any on which to finish. And final word to you, and that's to you. I think that Jakob said it there very well. That seems to be what this is all leading to, and what's happening. That young guys you end up talking about women, about girls, rather than with them.
Yeah. I'm so hopeful, and I'm so proud that, you know, these young boys exist, and he hit the nail on the head. Like, converse with women, get to know them, like, instead of just talking about them with your mates or whatever, you know. Yeah. But also as male role models as well, like I was saying in the article, like fathers, grandfathers, all this stuff. We need to have conversations around this stuff as well, you know.
No, absolutely. Look, we'd love to know what you made of Inside the Manosphere. Let us know on 086 1800 964. Call us on 0818 400 964. My thanks to Steo Wall. Steo, thank you very much for joining us in studio. And big thanks as well to Jakob Kurtz from Germany and Kumar Rubin from Paraguay. Guys, thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you to you who invited us.